Weirdest sports to ever exist. Starting off with Ostrich Racing. It's probably just me, but when I saw an ostrich racing, it reminded me of those yellow birds that you ride in Final Fantasy called chocobos. The sport dated back in 1890, typically as a tourist attraction in Florida. The inventor of the sport is unknown, but the concept was originated in Africa and spread its way to America. My main question is, who was weird enough to train an ostrich to be rideable and have it be able to compete in competitions? Where no horses around, he was like, I think I'll ride that ostrich instead. I'll give him points for creativity, but it's weird, you know? If you compare it to a camel or a horse, they look somewhat rideable, but an ostrich? While you're racing, ostriches can go up to 43 miles per hour. That's like a Usain Bolt and a half. Unlike horses, ostriches are pretty difficult to maneuver. This causes contestants to constantly fall off them, and ostriches completely running off on them during the race, adding to the chaoticness. This should become more mainstream because this is the most goofiest race I've ever seen. Now watch this. He fell off his ostrich. He threw his hands up at the ostrich so mad, and then ostrich just took off and left him. Then look at this. The final ostrich just... He was trying to attack him. Oh my gosh, bro. This sport should become mainstream. We need ostrich racing more often. Next up is toe wrestling. My characters don't have toes, so I'm gonna have to give them bird feet for this segment. What? It was either that or duck feet. I'm sorry, Johnny. As arm wrestling wasn't enough, toe wrestling is a sport that involves two barefoot opponents who lock their toes and try to pin each other's feet down. It was invented in 1976 in the United Kingdom by 4 drunkards who wanted to create a sport where Brits could dominate. The World Toe Wrestling Championship has been held annually since 1996 in Derbyshire, England. Every sport has their Messis, their Michael Jordans. In their sport, there's one name that'll shake the entire room. Alan Nasty Nash. At this moment, he's a 16-time world champion of toe wrestling. You're probably getting the goosebumps right now just by me saying that. Now, don't think this sport is all jokes and giggles. It's not for the faint of heart. Many toe wrestlers had fractured toes and even dislocations. So, sir, how did you obtain this injury? Oh, by toe wrestling. Oh, so you broke your toes when you're wrestling with someone, okay. No, I was toe wrestling. Wrestling with my toes? Toe-to-toe combat? Okay, another thing to add on my list to talk to my therapist about. Go ahead, traumatize me more. Also, the hygiene hazards. Imagine having to touch someone else's smelly and sweaty toes and having to wrestle them with your own, which can lead to obvious infections. I think I gave anyone with a foot fetish a new genre to browse. You are not welcome. Wife carrying. Back in the 1800s, in Finland, a guy named Rokkanen was known to steal women from the neighboring villages and run off with them on his back. This maniac inspired the sport, wife carrying. As in the name, wife carrying is a sport that involves a man carrying his wife through multiple obstacle courses. These courses can range from getting your wife through a pool, jumping over logs, you get the idea. Men do all the work while the women hold on them like sloths on a tree. Sure, the men are at a disadvantage most of the time, but looking at these wife-carrying videos, some of the women are taking a hit. I do not recommend this sport to any of you guys having back problems, but overall a very good bonding sport with your wife. The next sport is the most famous sport in this video, cheese rolling. I used to watch hours of cheese rolling content on YouTube because it's so fascinating. People go through such lengths and such troubles just for some cheese. I can go to my local store and get some cheese without having to sacrifice a rib cage. For people who don't know what cheese rolling is a sport where people chase down a wheel of cheese down a steep hill, and the first one to catch or cross the line wins the cheese. You're going down a declining hill, so it's easy to lose footing and bounce off the ground. For such a brain-dead sport, people use their 2 brain cells left to come up with techniques. 3 commonly used techniques are the Superman. This is when you dive headfirst down a hill with your arms and legs stretched out like Superman. This technique allows you to gain speed and momentum, but also increases the risk of injury and losing control. The barrel roll. This is when a competitor rolls sideways down the hill like a barrel. This technique helps you avoid bouncing and tumbling, but also makes you dizzy and disoriented. And the run and fall. This is when the competitor tries to run down the hill but inevitably falls and slides on their back or stomach. This technique is the most common and natural, but also the most unpredictable and chaotic. So sir, how did you get this injury? And for my mental sanity, please be a normal one this time. Long story short, I got this over a block of cheese. You know 400 doctors commit go bye-bye every year. Why are you telling me that? No reason. Cheese rolling is a sport that defines logic and common sense, but also fascinates and entertains us for centuries. Redneck games. I watched a documentary about the sport by Love What You Do, and it was phenomenal. It makes me really want to bring out my true inner redneck. The founder of the Redneck games is Mac Davis. He started the Redneck games back in 1996 and continued it annually. The games they feature in this competitive event are mud belly flop competition, no need to explain that one, horseshoes, but instead of throwing traditional horseshoes, they throw toilet seats instead, bobbing for pig feet, exactly the same concept as bobbing for apples, but just with pig foot. Armpit serenade competition, whoever makes the loudest arm fart wins. Last but not least, the mullet competition. Whoever has the most stylish mullet is crowned king. That reminds me of this one redneck kid who used to come to my lunch table, introduced me to a game called Mousetrap. The main purpose of this game was to touch a mousetrap and quickly snap your hands back before it hits you. They gradually pass it around the table until someone gets hit. Now it has me wondering, is this what foreigners imagine what America is? This is the most painful one on this list by far. Ear pulling. By this image, it's like you can feel your ears being pulled too. Ear pulling is a sport that originated from the ancient Inuit culture where hunters have to withstand harsh and cold conditions in the Arctic regions. To prepare themselves from these extreme weathers, they develop a technique of pulling each other's ears to toughen their skin and increase the pain tolerance. Ear pulling is a sport that tests the competitor's ability to endure pain and strength. The two competitors sit facing each other. A looped string similar to a thick wax dental floss is looped around their ears. The competitors then both pull the string using their own ears until the cord comes free or one player quits from the pain. Hey doc. No, your service is not welcome. I don't even want to know how you ripped off your ear. Oh, it happened when I was playing a sport called ear pulling. Ah! Chess boxing. This is a hybrid sport that combines boxing and chess. The players alternate between rounds of punching each other and playing chess on a board. The chess matches last up to 4 minutes, while the boxing lasts up to 3. The main goal is to fatigue your opponent from the blows they receive. This will increase adrenaline, which have different effects on chess performances. Some players may find it harder to think clearly and make bad moves, while others may find it beneficial with the extra energy and focus. The winner is decided by knockout, checkmate, or judge's decision. In chess boxing, you can be one of these 3 players: skilled in chess, skilled in boxing, or mixed. So if you're versing Mike Tyson, you don't have a single chance in the ring, but if you're skilled enough in chess, you can get a checkmate before he gets your hands on you. If you're only good at boxing, once you pass the time for the chess round, you can KO your opponent and claim victory. Chess boxing was invented by an artist named Ipe Rubing in 2003, inspired by a comic book by Inki Bilal. He wanted to create a sport that would test both the body and mind of competitors. He made a fantasy from a comic book come true and is now a widely practiced sport. Chess boxing is definitely one of the hardest on this list. It requires a high level of physical and mental fitness, as well as strategic thinking and quick reflexes.